Enter there, and Mozambique picking it up. 1-0. Now that may have been a very beautifully curved lob, but where was the marking? As I'd said about Angola, they were very good going forward, but extremely naive at the back. The goalkeeper coming out there, a Leone rather crude tackle, and the referee could do nothing other than point to the spot. It was Paulo, the Portuguese bass player, almost cut in two. Penalty taken by Johnny. And so 5 minutes before half-time, they were back on level terms. Lots of goals in this game, though. Turned out to be a very exhilarating performance, thoroughly enjoyed by the small crowd again. Although the crowds had been slightly increasing, 9,000 at this one. Then delicate move forward. Ball played into Palau. And even though the Cameroon defense were claiming for offside, that goal stood. Angola, against the run of play, were 2-1 up. At this stage, looking very good. They had shocked Cameroon. This was typical of the player we had seen in the previous games, and as the goalkeeper came out, Kinzinho, the man who had ripped Egypt apart when he came on as a substitute, playing excellently there, and on as a sub again, scoring the third goal. 3-1. Good play as Wilson Estrella set him up, though. Well, nobody would have given much chance for Cameroon at that stage. That looked a very solid bridgehead, but they fought back to the credit. And turning the ball on them was Muyemi, with 9 minutes of the game to left, swinging round in the penalty area. A very difficult goal to take, given the defender right behind him. So back to 3-2. Well, almost Brazilian style, they were interviewing people through the game, and then a mistake by the goalkeeper. The Angolan defender trying to send it forward. And as the players came into the box, Mozambique, way out in the far side, sending that ball high in the air, and held her incredibly, heading into his own net. One has to feel a little sorry for the player, because I think he was trying to clear. And the referee swamped Mr. Koraji from Algeria. They were claiming for offside to start off with, or a push. And the Cameroon side declaring their interest in that as well. And Helder really should have cleared this. A bizarre own goal, which made it officially 3-all. So, South Africa, top of that group. An excellent start to the tournament. And then Egypt against Angola, Cameroon beating Egypt, and South Africa finishing there at the top. These two going forward from Group A, certainly, clearly, the best two teams in the group. And that spirit of unity was beginning to be seen very palpably around South Africa, especially in the stadium in Soweto. Welcome back. back to our coverage of the African Nations Cup, the 20th African Nations Cup. And now we look at Group B. Two promising teams, at least we thought so at the start, with Zambia and Algeria coming up against each other in Bloemfontein. No goals in these games, and a tremendous effort there by Zaire off the crossbar. With the Zambian defense caught absolutely flat. No scoring in that game, though. We have to move on to the next one in Group B. Sierra Leone against Burkina Faso. Not highly fancied. And a crowd of only 2,000 in Bloemfontein for this game. An attack on the left to start off with, and in came Sessi right through the goalkeeper to score the opening goal for Sierra Leone in exactly 10 minutes, 1-0. Much more attacking, and Burkina Faso trying to fight their way back into the game. And the second goal coming up there, the equalizer by Ouedraogo, with 20 minutes of the game remaining. First time they had competed in this competition, and that was their first goal officially in the African Nations Cup. The joy was short-lived. At the other end, Sierra Leone on the attack, ball off the post, scramble clearance, the pressure still on. A beautiful little header there by Calon, which just didn't pay off. Misses at both ends. Tremendous shot there by Palanfo, and Ouattara should have put it away. The score still remained at that stage 1-1. And just before the end, the ball placed in here, no cover. And it went all round the houses there before the ball in the back of the net. Calon scoring 2 minutes from the end of that game. The final score, Sierra Leone 2, Burkina Faso 1. And now to Algeria against Sierra Leone. The first sight of Algeria. Again, the stadium in Bloemfontein. And one of the smallest crowds of the tournament thus far. Only 420 turned up to see this game. And they saw a game dominated clearly by Algeria. With the ball being played around by Lunici and Saib. Neat little cross, and in came Mekabi just on half-time to make it 1-0. They had done all the pressing in this game, rather shot-shy in front of goal, but not this time. Into the second half, Sierra Leone had to come forward. They were caught out of the back far too often, and as the ball was played there, Maccabi got his second goal. El Wazani on the far side doing all the work for him. And in he came to finish it off. 2 goals in that game, and Algeria at that stage looking very impressive. Now Zambia against Burkina Faso. This was to turn out to be something of a disaster for Burkina Faso. Malatoli scoring in exactly 17 minutes. It was one-way traffic from there on in. And One of the stars of the tournament, Kenneth Bawalya. A glorious free kick from him after 23 minutes. Just curving that ball round. And Kalusha Bawalya, of course, with the two Bawalyas playing in this side. One of the great stars of the tournament, and then an ordering off offence. Kamagati had to go off for that unsavory incident. So Burkina down now to 10 men. It didn't help the cause, and neither did poor defending. Neat little finish again by this man, Kalusha. It's just so surprising that he was given so much latitude. And so the one-way traffic continued. Too many gaps appearing in the Burkina Faso defense, and perhaps somebody should have thrown in the towel at that stage. And indeed, all of Zambia's goals were to come in that first half. Well, Burkina Faso tried very hard, but giving the ball away far too freely in midfield. And this time, John Bawalya with a beautifully driven, controlled low shot. That made it 5. Nicely drilled ball forward. And Bawalya coming up, no hesitation. The 5th. And perhaps these Zambian supporters were thinking forward to the final. Remember, Zambia had appeared in the final 2 years ago. One little consolation for Burkina Faso. Traore left with a chance there. Neat little chip. And in 52 minutes, it had taken a much more respectable appearance this game. 5-1. Traore left unguarded on this side, and he had plenty time to finish it off. On to Zambia against Sierra Leone. A game that almost wasn't played. The 24th of January, Bloemfontein, hit by a monsoon. Well, they worked very hard for the benefit of the 500 souls who turned up in this downpour to see this game. And well worth saving, because this was to turn out to be a personal triumph for Kalusha Bawalya. A man now playing in Mexican football, would you believe? He really should be in Europe with all the skills. Watch this finish. Well, there's an Englishman called Paul Gascoigne who does things like that. That was the first goal in exactly 2 minutes. He was to show his skills in almost a slow motion replay of that first goal. There he is again, same spot, same foot, same net. 2 goals in 7 minutes. Well, he's now almost a venerable gentleman of 34 years of age, but skill shall not wither. No way back now, and Zambia looking very, very good indeed. consolidating their place with the bookies as one of the favorites. And 84 minutes gone, there was a hat-trick. As I said, a great personal triumph for Kalusha Bwalia. The way he takes the goalkeeper and the defender on, drags him out of his goal, leaving the goal mercilessly exposed. More to follow as Kenneth Malatoli, despite the fact that he was almost pulled back there, strode through to score the fourth goal. Sierra Leone had been ripped apart. They're the star, one of the great players of the tournament. Wonderfully skilled, a delight to watch at any time. Now on to Algeria against Burkina Faso. Algeria had showed promise, but nothing much more than that, but an opening goal by Lunici in 2 minutes. In the stadium in Port Elizabeth, in front of only 250 spectators. That gave them a good bridgehead. The ball swept across by Zarouki. And the final touch by Lunici. A lot of counter-attacking in this by Algeria. The defense pushing forward. And as that came up, beautifully slipped in there by Zaire with 15 minutes of the game remaining. Again, Lunici, the man who had scored that opening goal, had a hand in it, playing down the right-hand side, drifting into the penalty area, looking for support, and getting it. And now a free kick. Brahima Traore, right across to Zongo with a very deft header. 7 minutes remaining. And they were back in with a slight chance. Zongo making it 2-1. But little doubt that Zambia were going to head that section. That had been a bit of a deceptive opening game between Zambia and Algeria. Zambia just feeling their way. Then they really ripped Burkina Faso apart, as well as Sierra Leone. And at that stage in Group B, heading it, the money was beginning to pile on Zambia to actually win this tournament. Zambia, after the tragedy of losing the entire World Cup squad 3 years ago, had come back from the ashes, as it were, to get into the final in Tunisia. They were beaten there by a much superior side, Nigeria. But now they were heading, they hoped for another final again. Welcome back from Archie McPherson, and we're watching, looking back over the African Nations Cup. And here, Group C, Gabon against Liberia. The great George Weah in action. And immediately brought down, penalty kick. Weah, of course, a national hero in Liberia, and in the most practical way, not just of his exploits on the football field, but the very fact that he subsidized this team to come to South Africa and finances schemes for young footballers. So, he'd been involved. The penalty, though, taken by Sebwe. 4 minutes had gone, and that gave a rather deceptive look to Liberia's position, because Gabon simply didn't lie down. It was Gabon who made the running thereafter, and as that ball was put back to Nzeng, should have been put away, and with the crowd beginning to back them, 4,500 in Dublin on the 16th of January, it looked as if they had the running up front to cause a surprise, even though this was very badly missed by Kumba and Nzamba. right on the edge of the box. And the free kick by Obami. Desperately unfortunate. And at this stage, Liberia were really being played off the pitch. All the attacking, and then came the inevitable. The single breakaway as the players began to go forward. And that really should have been the equalizer. They'd fought so hard for it. But as I said, they'd been pushing forward, and inevitably there was going to be a break. There was. Ball pushed across there and just slanted into the net by Sarr. "54 minutes had gone, and right against the run of the play, the second goal. Well, Gabon must have thought at that stage nobody up there liked them. They'd had all the chances, about 70% of possession in the last 20 minutes, and still could do nothing. However, the free kick, Nzeng. Watch it. It was only a blur. In the 59th minute, Gabon deservedly had pulled one back. They turned out to be one of my favorite teams in this competition. Again, like some of the others, a little bit naive in defense. But I think their whole attitude was about getting forward as much as they can. And Deba there, the French-based player, just going off. But that had started off as an excellent game for Liberia. And then they were given a lesson by Gabon, who in the second game against Zaire certainly got more out of the game, and deservedly so. Well, Merikani had brought down Nzamba. And no hesitation about that, the referee pointing to the spot. As the goalkeeper's momentum, more than anything else, brought about that collision. Makaya took the kick. Well, it was going upwards all the way, just finely judged. And that was Gabon 1 up. Nobody begrudged them that. They had won a lot of their plaudits for the way they had attacked in the previous game without any luck against Liberia. And our beautiful run here, touched inside. Bikogo Zolo gets the credit for that. But it really was Nzamba with his marvelous work on the right who had brought it about. This is what I meant. He turned out to be a very useful player indeed. Beautiful little body swerve, totally exposing the defense, and in it went in 35 minutes. When you look at that finish again, you might have thought the goalkeeper ought to have got to it. But again to Liberia, this time to play Zaire. George Weah up to then had looked like a solitary figure of talent in a very mediocre side. Now, could he find something personally to drag his team up? They'd had that first win, but nobody had been at all impressed by them. And the opening goal didn't take long. As the ball goes through here, Banzo Kasongo brought down by Freeman. A look of innocence in the face, rather pained innocence. Penalty kick. Lukaku with it. And he really made it look simple. 350 people in to watch this game. And the referee, Belcola, had no hesitation in producing the penalty. It took a long time for the second goal to come. The goalkeeper was quite outstanding in the Liberian goal, Tokpa, holding Zaire at bay in many of their attacks. George Weah hardly showing anything. And I think he looked a very dispirited player by the end. There might have been a suspicion of offside here. And Ascendi just rolling it in after Banza Kasengo had done all the running on the right. That put it well beyond Liberia. They simply did not have the ability nor the spirit to come back on that. So it was turning out to be a very great disappointment for George Weah. They had seen the tournament, their first tournament in the African Nations Cup, and there they were, a false start. They had really been outplayed by Gabon in the first game, who couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. They came good, of course, against Zaire, and then Zaire putting Liberia out of it. George Weah returned and, of course, consequently went right back to Milan and scored a goal, going back there into the San Siro. Perhaps he favors now the European environment. Algeria had refused to take part in this competition, and of course Ghana were immediately reinstalled as the possible favorites to win this. Ghana trying to make a tournament record by winning the title for the 5th time. And on a very baked pitch and a very hard pitch, only occasionally flickering. And of course relying on the great front players, Yeboah and Pele. And it was Yeboah who struck first. 20 minutes gone. The definitive Tony Yeboah goal. Well, I'm quite sure that the major European clubs like Leeds United, his clubs, are always pained to release players for tournaments like this. But then when you see a goal like that, how could Ghana play without such a man? After that great strike, not all that much. A bit of an anticlimax, in fact. But Abedi Pele, watch this. He'd done virtually nothing in the game. But of course, that sometimes doesn't augur too well for defenses. I've seen him do that so often in European football. And almost a replica of a goal he scored for Marseille when he played there in a European game against the Russian side. So Ghana had started with 2 great strikes. Not much in between. Didn't look all that impressive in midfield. But when you've got 2 great penalty box players like this, of course, they were one of the favorites to win the trophy. Just driven away with great conviction. That was the final score in that game. Nothing much else added to it. And so, the first look at Tunisia. Tunisia had been humiliated 2 years previously. They had hosted a tournament, and would you believe, the party was spoiled on the very first day when they were beaten 2-0 by Mali. They had a new coach, though, Henry Kasperjak, who'd been with the Ivory Coast. A Polish international, a French club player, and he was trying to weld them into a different team. But in 6 minutes, Tico Tico of Mozambique had exposed their defense and put Mozambique 1 up. Good solo goal by Tico Tico. And not to be intimidated by the big defender there, Ben Rakisa. A lot more of Mozambique. Tunisia hadn't really developed their game. Solid enough in defense apart from that opening goal that was scored. And then, as that ball was put in the back of the net, the flag had gone up. Elouer, the captain in goal for Tunisia, also called Chokri. A lot of efforts by the Mozambique side against him, but the free kick taken there. Deya puts it right on the head of the defender I mentioned right at the start, Ben Rakisa. And after 36 minutes, it was 1-1. That did it. They got a draw out of that. Good start by Mozambique in the tournament for the first time. Now to Ghana, Tunisia. Tunisia hadn't impressed all that much. Neither had Ghana, apart from the explosive finishing of the two most famous players. A long game, drawn out in midfield. And then Abedi Pele getting an opportunity in the 51st minute. Joado had put it forward. Yeboah redirected the ball, and Abedi Pele flashing into the play again. 51 minutes gone, and Ghana had gone one up. Beautiful chip forward there. Yeboah with a head from that Adoa lob. And although Abedi Pele took a very heavy smack there, his intention was quite clear right from the outset. One all at that stage, and more attacking by Ghana. Akinor, delightful skills, and Rudiotto scored. The sort of thing that Abedi Pele could do as well. And now a penalty kick. And a great save. Goalkeeper Elouer guessing right about that. And Abedi Pele could have killed them off there and then. So, inevitably, they came back. And Ben Yunus going forward there, trying to pick up that ball by Beya. Indirect free kick, right inside the box. Tunisia had been gathering pace, realizing they were well out of it. Slipped back, though, by Trabelsi to Ben Yunus. And that made it 1-1. They hadn't looked at all exciting going forward, but they had been patient, and it paid off. Retaliation was inevitable, and they'd only to wait 5 minutes for it, as Akinor, who had hard luck with his earlier effort, taking that beautiful pass by Achiampong from midfield, and a glorious finish which turned out to be the winner. All credit to Akinor for his hit and run there, totally deceiving that defense. The Ghanaians now look much more relaxed in this game. And Elouer just got the touch onto the post. Achiampong with a glorious drive, and that significant substitution had meant so much to Ghana. So Ghana had won by 2-1. Now remained to be seen how the Ivory Coast would play. They had some nice touches in the opening game they had played against Ghana, but lost out to 2 great goals, and now here they were against Mozambique. Great header there as Thiehi came in. Lots of good play on both sides. Antoninho João Chisano, the little player here on the right who sent that over. And Jojo with a header. And again, Chisano putting it in. Flicked there by Arnaldo on the far side, and a good save, though, by Guameni in goal. It was a typical game. I think both teams very much intent on attacking, and somebody needed a break of some kind. It came in the 33rd minute. Goalkeeper commits himself, and there's Yo Thiehi turning round, sweeping it away, and the Martigues player from the French First Division scoring as he so often does in Europe. The goalkeeper, a very bad slap at the ball, very ineffectual, and he was punished for it. 1-0 to the Ivory Coast, and are looking forward to other games in that section. Ghana against Mozambique. The question mark about Ghana, of course, was what was their midfield like above anything else. Glorious free kick again, inevitably by Yeboah, almost taking the woodwork away. Ghana had their Brazilian coach in action. Not so much the Brazilian touches, more European. And Ayew on that side, always an interesting player on a very sodden pitch, and the opening goal, Ayew to Abedi Pele. Such a typical Abedi Pele goal again. 42 minutes, it was 1-0. Nice hidden diagonal run again, leaving the defender so static. And look at this awful positioning. That defense there wide open. Yeboah fouled by Alves. And Amankwa with a red card produced there. Rui Evora, the goalkeeper, for the challenge. And the goalkeeper right, look at the way the boot was just held up there, and he wasn't certainly trying to dry his feet. On came Luis Diaz to go into goal for the penalty, as Ghana remained very patient. The penalty taken by Amankwa. Poor penalty, straight to the goalkeeper, but sadly for him, Aboagye was hovering on the edge of the penalty area, very quickly in, as they should be, the other waiting players, and tucked it away. It's 68 minutes gone, and Ghana had now taken quite an invulnerable lead. Back to Tunisia. A vital game for them against the Ivory Coast. They really had to get a victory there to be sure of qualifying for the quarterfinals. The opening goal coming after there was some slack work in midfield, poor defending, and then Yunus getting the little rebound here, and putting it in. The goalkeeper had done splendidly to keep out the shots there by Beya, Salimi and Belhassan, and eventually falling to Ben Yunus to put it away. They'd played for 32 minutes, mostly in attack, Tunisia, and eventually they got their reward. Third time lucky. And the Ivory Coast, managed by the Frenchman Plimelding, very much a shambles in defense at times. And the referee coming across to award a free kick right on the edge of the box. The Ivory Coast had looked good going forward, but at the back they were awful. Well, that free kick could have gone the other way, but beautifully driven in. Second goal for Ben Yunus, and 2 goals in 7 minutes. And I think at that stage, Tunisia realized they had this game won. It's fatal nowadays to give free kicks away so easily on the edge of a box like that when you've got excellent free kick takers. Another free kick, and Tunisia had looked organized, but not all that adventurous. More a case of trying to grind the opposition down. That seemed to be their policy. Played across, and a neat little header by Belhassan. Moussa Traoré had flicked that over. Nicely judged, and Belhassan off the side of the head. So 4 minutes into the second half, and they'd taken what looked to be a lead that Ivory Coast couldn't touch. They still kept playing away. Tunisia, at that stage, I think, had decided to conserve the energy, give them much more of the play in midfield, going back in defense, and the goalkeeper, who had been very good up till then, Ulwer, allowing that shot by Traoré to slip underneath his body, and that finished up 3-1. So going to the top of Group D, Ghana, followed by Tunisia. Not at all surprising, that order. We'd felt it might have been something from the Ivory Coast. It turned out not to be so. So the favorites in that section going through, along with Tunisia. And at that stage, having watched South Africa and Ghana and Zambia, you could say to yourself that at least we had the 3 semi-finalists, given that they could avoid each other. And we'll be back very shortly with how the quarter-finals went. Leaden skies again as we went into the quarter-finals. South Africa against Algeria. A lot of good football by the Algerians in a side, and South Africa at times struggling. And again, we were trying to revise our estimation and our evaluation of both them as a team and as some of the players as individuals. Notably Mark Fish. Fish, the great exciting defender, the man who is very difficult to pass and the man who likes to come forward, and been quieter in this game. But the South Africans trying everything, striving all over. And with the rain lashing down, the referee causing a little bit of controversy, Ali Bouchazim. John Morsio in the tussle for that. A lot of wrestling going on, and that Algerian defense had been quite excellent. The penalty. Poorly taken, and a fine save by Hanished. That might have broken South African morale. There was dejection all round, including Clive Barker. And I think that summed up their mood as well. However, the ardour still remained in the ranks. Fish began to push forward. And the ball laid down there. Fish came up, pushed forward with that great determination of his, and a man sought after by many European clubs had opened the scoring for South Africa with only 18 minutes of the game remaining. Through he went, saw his opportunity, slid in there, and he was going to be first. It was determination and spirit that was pushing them through. But then calamity. No cover there as Lazisi rose above everybody else and scored the equalizer, 6 minutes of the game remaining. And for the first time in the tournament, we noticed there was a bit of niggle amongst the defenders. Who should have been covering? Well, the player in the front had been ball watching. And Lazisi had taken that well. So they were in with a chance. It was turning out to be one of South Africa's much more difficult games. But they had thrust. Still kept at it, fighting for every ball, not wanting to let the crowd down. And that shot gloriously struck in there by John Moshu. He had scored a couple of goals in his opening game. He had shown himself to be a very deft, delicate kind of player, but with, obviously, from that evidence, explosive power as well. Well, we had seen Fisher's determination, and now with this remarkable power of John Moshu. And the vital thing about that, it had come 1 minute after Algeria had equalized. There's no better way to come back at opposition. And now into Zambia, Egypt. Two very favored sides. The Egyptians had wonderful players in the side, of course, and Samir, who'd had great efforts in earlier games that had just gone astray, finally getting his reward 1 minute from half-time in this game. Egypt had gone against the grain, gone against the play, and were one up. However, Zambia still trying to play that cultured football of theirs, and Kalusha at his very best, trying to mesmerize people on the left. And by this stage, the Egyptians had gone mostly back in defense. That was Kalusha. The cross ball in, and the header away by Litana. Seven minutes into the second half, they were back in business, 1-1. It had been slag play by the Egyptians on the right, and that great defender, Ruud Krol, their now coach, must have been annoyed about that. The one thing Krol was as a defender was positive, and we hadn't seen that from Egypt on the right-hand side. And punished they were. It was now going Zambia's way. The ball on the right. Kalusha Bwalia gets a touch, and coming up there, Mutari. They had deserved that. "15 minutes from the end of the game, they had gone into the lead. After all that pressure, It had paid off. Beautifully floated cross that. Kalusha getting his head to it, and the support work excellent. All Zambia now. And good combined play. Kalusha, Morden, Molatoli, then Lothar. And finished with great conviction. That was that. 3-1. He could have cut it back, chose to go for it himself. And a very good goalkeeper indeed, El Sayed, completely taken on. And Zambia look now almost certain to reach the final. There didn't seem to be anybody in the way at all. But we thought that too soon. And into Ghana, Zaire. Ghana, of course, had a great deal of benefit of Yeboah and Abedi Pele. We still looked for something more from midfield. Wasn't coming in this game. There was only one goal. And it was never very surprising how it came about. And Lembe sent off. Only 19 minutes gone, and Zaire were always going to have a very difficult task against Ghana, and with 10 men, an almost impossible task. This was the clash. And look at the boot on Abedi Pele. He had to go. And then rubbing salt in the wood, down to 10 men. And just 2 minutes later, Ghana struck. Play on the left. There was Yeboah. Yahaha had put it to the left. Abedi Pele out there, finding Yeboah in the middle. And that was the only goal of the game. There's a run again by Abedi Pele. Wonderful turn here from a very difficult angle indeed. And Abedi Pele right in. Zaire just playing the ball about. They'd never looked a particularly strong side. But Ghana had still failed to impress. Yes, they had Yeboah and they had Pele, but nothing much else. Some injuries in that game, of course, which were to turn out to be crucial. Abedi Pele, for example, going down, twisting himself very badly. Ghana were to pay a very heavy price for that accident. Tunisia against Gabon. This is where Tunisia's physical strength paid off. They were outplayed for much of this game. And the opening goal in this game scored by Beya after 10 minutes. Good play by Slimani, who's a very mobile, quicksilver kind of player on the right. And then the strength of the shot by Beya, but maybe Mendomi should have done better than that. And Gabon, everybody's favorite for the way they stuck to the task, aggressive attacking football, and the ball slid through that defensive wall by Makaya. 6 minutes after going behind, they were back on level terms. Nice hit and run across there. That was taken very well by Nzamba, opening the gap. However, 1-1 after extra time, we went into penalties. 4,000 people had turned up to see this game. And there the first penalty saved. It didn't augur well for Gabon at that stage. If you miss 2 penalties in your first encounter, things are going bad. And now, delicately put in there by the captain of the side for Tunisia, who remained enormously calm. Tunisia, to everybody's great surprise, had got through to the semi-finals. Henry Kasperjak, the coach, absolutely delighted by getting there, but I'm quite sure thinker and scrutinizer of other teams that he is, that he would now have started on a game plan for the semi-final. The semi-final, Tunisia against Zambia. Zambia went into this very much as strong favorites, but really put under great pressure to start off with. It turned out to be a quite remarkable game, this. If only because of some dreadful defensive blunders by the favorites. There should have been an opening goal here. Zambia missing out there. And as that ball was played down the side, the Tunisian side, which had never looked all that exciting, got that opening goal. Selimi just squeezing it over in 16 minutes. They hadn't threatened Gabon in the quarterfinal with any destruction at all, but suddenly they found the scoring touch in this game early on. And Selimi doing well to get in before the defender. Second goal, and this goalkeeper, James Phiri, will never forget this. Nestling in the net from Beya Zubia's foot. It should never have got there. 2-0 to Tunisia. Perfectly legitimate run forward by Ben Rakisa. He was onside when he made his run. But the goalkeeper looked very frail indeed. So, against all expectations, Tunisia were 2 up. Things were to get worse. The goalkeeper out of his goal, and a marvelous little piece of opportunism there. Kodbani. Now it looked totally beyond Zambia, and everybody had been backing them to get to the final. And remember, Tunisia had been outright abject failures when the tournament was held in their country 2 years previously. One of the best taken goals of the tournament. There had to be some kind of fight back, and there was eventually. The ball breaking to Lota, and when it just scraped the post, I think an indication that Zambia were fighting back into this game. Not giving anything away at the back after losing these 3 goals and just pushing forward. That goal would have been a very timely one. And when they look back on the game, if that had gone in, and then the subsequent play had followed up, they would have been in with a chance. And Elouer Chokri, for the first time in a tournament, making a really bizarre mistake, punished by Lota. So just a little chance for the Zambians. 3-1. And had that first shot gone in just prior to the goal, they really would have been back with a very strong chance. But this man, Salimi, coming away, brought down, as I said, some of these teams very naive in defense, a totally useless tackle, almost inevitable to produce a penalty kick. And when you consider the other defender was coming up just to the right-hand side of Salimi, that ball would have been cut off. It looked like fighting back, and then suddenly the slap in the face. Salimi, the scorer himself, one of the quickest players up front of any of the nations taking part in the tournament. Then Zambia towards the end. They'd played marvelous football. Kalusha, one of the great players of the tournament. They could score like that. Makasa getting it to make it 4-2, but far too late. So Tunisia, having failed miserably at home 2 years previously, had now reached the final, which left South Africa and Ghana. A great night all round. The stadium full to capacity again. Soweto buzzing. A terrible error to start off with. And the ball just swept past. Yeboah normally puts these away with the greatest of ease. But of course, Lucas Radebe making that mistake, the man who plays at the same club as Tony Yeboah, but it was no gift. And then Fish again with his great determination, pushing long balls from the back, got the front runners going. The South Africans had had to make a change in this game. Masinga had been yellow carded twice, and they had brought in a young player here called Thurston Bartlett. Okay, he's called Sean as well, but his full name is Thurston Sean Bartlett, and he was to turn out to be one of the stars of the evening. The pressure on, the crowd backing them, and a goal inevitable. Moshu swinging that away after again Fisher's presence in the penalty area had confused that defense. And how they love to see this ball put in the back of the net. Fish, this time at his own penalty area, as Ghana tried to get back into the match. And the referee eventually cancelling that goal because of the hitch kick on the edge of the penalty area. The Ghanaians thought they had fought back. The good corner by Akinor. The ball played across there. Yeboah with a hitch kick, touched in, no goal. Well, some people have been saying the referees had been favoring South Africa. May well be that a goal like that would have stood, and a crowd regarding Fish as one of the great favorites. Fish, and watch this start. There's Bartlett. 27 seconds it took into the second half for him to show the piercing quality of his play. South Africa were 2 up. Ghana began to disintegrate. And again we saw a performance by South Africa that was based on good teamwork, good understanding amongst each other, and then a pass to Moshu, who picked the ball up after that defense had pushed forward too much, scoring his second goal of the tournament. 5-0. And Clive Barker knew then that he was in the final. They started off by being called Bafana Bafana. Now they were named the Rainbow Warriors. That was a banner of the many banners around the stadium that summed up the spirit, the indomitable spirit of a South African team which probably didn't have as much skill as some of the others, but they had the spirit of adventure and determination. 1 goal in the 3rd-4th playoff. Snapped in there. Bolyala, the only goal of the game. So some consolation. Zambia ending up in 3rd place. The scriptwriters had got it right. Another fly past, another big exuberant crowd supporting Bafana Bafana are now the Rainbow team, the Rainbow Warriors. The final game and everybody turned up. Tunisia surprisingly in the final. South Africa perhaps not so surprisingly. Nelson Mandela present again, inevitably with another sporting jersey. He must keep a tremendous collection. No fewer than 88,000 people in this quite spectacular Soweto Stadium. All geared up for the inevitable, they thought, but there was also going through the minds of the more impartial observers the fact that South Africa had played on emotions. That was their main drive. Could they keep it going right to the end? That was going to be the big test. They seemed to think at that stage a victory was a formality. Well, it turned out to be harder than that. Tunisia hadn't impressed me. They'd been organized at the back, but there was very little initiative in the team. All they would do was keep Salimi up front. He had pace, and as Pele watched on, and he's been at the last 4 finals in the African Nations Cup, I wonder if he was taking notes of some of these players we might see in France in the finals of the World Cup there, because South Africa had made it their vow that if they won this, it was simply preparation for qualifying for the big one. But Tunisia tried to surprise them. And South Africa very occasionally getting opportunities, as Masinga put that one just over the crossbar in the first half. Chances were few and far between. The Tunisians, with this agonizing possession of theirs, they don't seem to be getting anywhere with it, but they do keep the ball, and I think it incurs frustration in the opposition. Well, there were casualties in this game, and I suppose that FIFA, insisting that players be taken off by the stretcher, had speeded up the play. Now Moshu, another effort there off the bar. So we had Thurston Bartlett and Masinga with perhaps the only two clear-cut chances of the first 45 minutes. And Elwar Chokri showing his very best. Optimism still pervaded the stadium. And the Tunisian goalkeeper in the second half tried to calm things down. South Africa had made the agonizing choice. They had left Williams, who I thought had been quite excellent in the first two games, on the bench. Masinga had come back. They had kept Thurston Bartlett, who had a marvelous game. And when another free kick went in like that from Tinkler, and the goalkeeper was down to save it, that explosion was one in the background of frustration amongst 88,000 people. Gradually, though, South Africa were getting the supremacy they desperately sought in midfield. A little touch on there, and the ball off the head of Fish, put back in again, and in came Williams, the substitute, to touch it away. An inspired substitution by Clive Barker. Well, at least all coaches would do that. If he brings on a sub and 2 minutes later, from coming from the bench, he finds himself in a ruck of players to finish off a move that looked at first as if it would fail. However, up came Williams. The 30-year-old who's very good at getting into the box, as he had proved in the opening game, getting a just reward for having been brought on. And there he was, looking older and frailer than we've been accustomed to seeing him, but now part of the spirit of a side which had lifted themselves up from a very mediocre display in the first half. And now grinding this down. Williams, his second goal in 2 minutes. That did it, and they knew it. He still wasn't permitting himself a smile. There was still time in the game yet, and then turns quickly to the crowd. And a very negative Tunisian side was now being put to the sword. Williams had run well down the blind side, and the Tunisians knew that they were well beaten. The final whistle went, and a little piece of history here. South Africa back into FIFA circles, and now winning the African Nations Cup, the 20th, for the first time at trying. 2 goals by the substitute. Somebody had said to Nelson Mandela after this game, why do you get enough time to take off from politics to come to sporting occasions? And somebody said beside him, well, you know, this football match, it is a political occasion. And so with a mix of colors in the stadium, rainbow team and a rainbow audience, so it was that the crowd were justified in the tremendous support for this team. Of course, we'd never quite know just how effective South Africa would have played outside of this environment. Neil Tovey, a reliable, responsible player, beautiful reader of the game, although Mark Fish beside him got all the plaudits and all the attention. South Africa deservedly winning the 20th African Nations Cup. And a quite genuinely gleeful President of the Republic beside Neil Tovey. Bestowing the final accolade on the team And now South Africa, of course, looking forward to seeing if they could qualify for the World Cup. Anything can happen in this nation now. Teeming with talent in all kinds of sports, as they prove. And now in the sport of the black people, again proving that they have no peers in the African continent at the moment. From Archie McPherson, good night.
The African Cup of Nations was brought to you by Amstel Beer, official sponsor of the African Cup of Nations.